Alright, my friends. The Halo music started, so you know what time it is. Alright, yeah, we'll get started here in just a moment. Click a couple of buttons, you know. Alright, what's up, my friends? Alright, guys. So welcome to the stream. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to do a pretty standard rundown outlook today. We'll look at Tradfi, we'll look at macro Bitcoin, look at medium time frame Bitcoin. We'll do a little bit of a glossary view of altcoins. I don't want to do a deep dive on alts, not super interested in that. It's just a handful that are maybe worth looking at. And yeah, just do our standard streams pretty much. So feel free along the way if you have any questions, any chat, anything like that. Just don't hesitate to throw it in the question section. And if I have an insight to share, I will answer your question. If I don't know, I will just tell you I don't know. Yeah, but that's it for me, guys. Hopefully everyone's doing well. We'll get started here in like 1 minute, maybe less. I couldn't even figure. I was trying to set up my AdSense account the other day, and I couldn't even figure out how to do it. So I tried to turn monetization on, couldn't figure it out. I'm not capable. All right, my friends. So shout out to Coinbase for sponsoring the stream. Always really cool to be supported by such a legitimate brand. And then one more shill to do before we start up. So I don't normally shill this that much, but I get asked probably 2 or 3 times per week about Paragon discounts. So here it is. You guys have asked for it. Oh, we're boomering. You guys have asked for it, and here it is. So I'm gonna link it in the chat. It's only going to be running for about a week, so you want to, if this is something you're interested in, you want to take advantage of it, capitalize on it now. I get asked about this so many times, per month, and yeah, here you go. So there you guys go. All right, without further ado, I think it's time to focus up. So if you guys have any questions or chat along the way, don't hesitate to throw it in the question section. But yeah, we're just going to dive into some stuff here. Okay. Let's start off with Tradfi and then just kind of see where we're at. So starting off with the S&P, pretty straightforward views on this. I think that dips are for buying. Any opportunity where you see something like a 5% dip on these assets, right? It's a free money buy. My plan going into this week was, or actually I think I might have posted about this last week, I don't really remember, was looking for interactions with 6,700 to see, for a potential bottom. We V'd back up off that region pretty quickly, and now I would basically say that I don't think that that you should be expecting to get a massive dip, that you would, have the opportunity to buy into. I think that that's what has just come and gone with this few percent. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and LARP about the macro econ side or, pretend to understand anything about the government shutdown or anything like that. Obviously, those things are going to play a big role in this, but TLDR is, you want to keep buying this stuff. And yeah, it's pretty obvious to me that risk assets are going to go higher this year. That's definitely one of the core kind of bigger picture theses that I have, is that with the kind of, runway built up the way it is, it doesn't really make any sense to expect risk assets. So that's being, equities, metals aren't traditionally a risk asset, but this year they kind of have become one, and Bitcoin, right? I think that those will all do well in Q4. So yeah, that's pretty much that. If you guys have any questions to ask about Tradfi and about the S&P, don't hesitate to throw it in the chat. Same exact vibe with the Nas. I'm actually, over the past month or two, I've been looking to allocate more to the Nas. So I still am looking to make that change. I haven't successfully made it yet. Realistically, I probably should have just bought heavier into this dip that just came, but I really just have a slow and steady approach. Basically, my script is if I get like a 5% or more pullback on the S&P, that's a shover. And then outside of that, on the little 1, 2%, 3% pullbacks, you just, do baby dick buys on those, and that's been the strat. Yeah, I mean, so that's pretty much it, right? There's no whole lot else to say on this. Pretty confident that risk assets are going to trade higher. Probably go ahead and move over to metals. We'll check chat here in a second and see what the boys are saying. Just taking a quick look at gold. So originally I wanted to see gold trade down lower to start the gold trade up. I'm personally really interested in building up a gold bag as a really long term, just not necessarily a growth play by any means, but just another location to park money for the long. For those of you guys that have been around for a while, that I've been long silver since like $13 or something. And yeah, I mean, I do kind of wish I had picked the king asset instead of silver, but you got to move forward from where you're at. So basic thoughts are, I think the metals are going to continue to trade up aggressively. I don't, with the foreground that's in front of us, right, with this kind of big shift away from the nation states buying U.S. debt as much as they were and really starting to accumulate more gold. I really think that this trend is going to continue, and for whatever reason, this year has been weird with equities and metals more or less moving together. So I really just think that you're going to see metals and equities continue to trade higher, right? The S&P is probably going to 7K this year. The NAS probably to 2,600 or 26,000, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, silver barely made an all-time high recently, but structure still looks really good on gold and silver. So, it's kind of sad, but I look at silver and gold and think like these assets look better high time frame structurally than pretty much like every single alt for the most part. So, anyways, let me pause and see what the boys are saying. I'm the creative and Charlie's the tech support. Doc is the Q&A-er. Ass kicking in. I don't know what's going on with my account, guys. I tried to like set up the AdSense stuff and it didn't really work, so I kind of thought it wasn't turned on. So they're not paying me for it, that's for sure. Mag spread the rumor that he taught Doc it's actually the other way around. No shot. Nice try. Doc might be older than me in age, but I'm older than him in trading years. I just joined crypto this cycle 100%. You could tell by listening to me. Engineer Charlie. Dollar store stream. Yeah, it is kind of funny, right? Like Charlie stream, like his visualizations on his charts. Like his charts look so bad, but his trading is so good and they just don't really compute. But there you go. Thanks for shilling me on silver. I'm up 4%. Nice. You heard it here first. Baby dick buy. Yeah, sometimes you gotta send the baby dick buys. Not every buy needs to be a big buy. Realistically, most of my buys aren't big buys when I'm buying shit. Alright, Lucifer, you need to go outside. 100%. Yeah, there's massive edge in having an English accent. Nobody wants to hear a burger talk. Everyone wants to hear an English person speak. Even if that English person has no idea what they're saying, we would still prefer to listen to them. All right. So assuming there's no Tradfi questions, then I'll probably go ahead and move on. TLDR across the board is I'm a huge advocate for buying dips on the S&P, the Nasdaq, gold and silver. I think that I'll be making a more concentrated effort to buy gold in the future. Again, it's not with any intention of really having substantial growth. It's not like I expect this rate of growth that silver or that gold has experienced this year. I don't really expect that to persist, but I do think that it'll just continue to trend upwards in a more slow manner. But who knows, right? I mean, maybe it gets parabolic. I really don't see that. Probably a good segue to move over into Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and do that. Bitcoin macro. I don't have any super dramatic changes, right? The main kind of thought process is that I am still very much long biased on the highest time frame because I just don't see this being the end of risk. When you look at equities and metals, right? I just don't see I don't see a world where Bitcoin is going to put in its top. the relative weakness that we've experienced is definitely not something that should be ignored. And on medium time frame, the structure is extremely bearish, which I will discuss here in a moment. So for the time being, anytime we have one of these kind of pukes, it's like 100K comes, and there's nothing wrong with sending the long at 100K, but just be mindful that I don't really expect us to trade up aggressively in tomorrow or anything like that, right? I think that the overhang around the government shutdowns and stuff is probably going to hold us back in combination with some of the just general supply overhang that Bitcoin has. But main thoughts on macro are, I do think that Bitcoin is going to trade higher. I think that before it trades higher, though, unfortunately, it's going to be lower. When we were trading down into the direction of 100K, I told you that I don't think that 100K is going to be the swing long just because of how ridiculously obvious it is. So I really think that what we're set to do now is deviate below 100K. And basically, it almost feels tiresome to even make the argument about like shake people out, pressure people, right? Like, because we've just done that 17 million times to the point where, if we trade below 100K, we're not even pressuring people anymore because motherfuckers don't even have Bitcoin anymore, and you know what I mean? Like, but that is the general idea, right? I called for the level of 94K. Realistically, I would guesstimate it's going to be somewhere between like 97 and maybe all the way down to like 92 or something like that, right? 94 split down the middle was my gut feeling guess. So that's pretty much where I'm at, right? I do think that Bitcoin's probably set to trade lower before it has a chance to trade higher. Always be mindful that in crypto, there is no real tangible value argument behind these assets. So it's purely if numbers going up, it's a good coin, and if numbers going down, it's bad, and it's that simple. So always keep that in mind, because all you would take is one good candle where it just trades up, right, aggressively one day, and all of a sudden the bullish optimism and hopium would return and be valid, right? So keep in mind the local trend. So I'm not saying just be shoving or anything, but yeah, respect the reflexive nature of these markets, right? I don't have too much else to say on macro. We'll pause here in a moment and check questions. Don't hesitate to ask any questions if you have them. Overall, like the relative weakness has been most noticeable post 1010, but obviously we experienced a lot of it basically in the summertime. Relative weakness on Bitcoin throughout the summertime has been pretty noticeable, and post 1010 extremely noticeable. But the trend is still up. The only real cause for concern on macro for Bitcoin is the momentum loss structure, but I'm really not buying into that personally. Maybe in a couple of months we're going to be trading lower, and I'm going to be telling you that I was a moron for having ignored some of the early warning signs. But yeah, my gut says that going a little bit lower and then higher. I'll pause and check chat. That's the true skill of being a streamer when you have an audience like mine, is can I stay focused up when every attempt from the chat is to derail me and have me talk about random shit. But we've been doing this for long enough. I just know how to tune out the tism. We should be running the autism. That's what we do. Chat's taken over by the Paragooners because nobody else is left. I guess it makes me more bearish on crypto every stream. No value behind the asset aside from speculation. The same is true with every asset class ever, guys. The only assets that you can maybe argue have true value are going to be, commodities that are used in means of production. So, metal, your metals, oil, things that are part of the food supply like corn, right? Like those have tangible, arguable value, right? I could make a concrete argument for that. Real estate, right? Fucking land, whatever. Those things have there's value arguments for them, right? But none of these other financial instruments, even the ones, even like gold really has a pretty loose value proposition, right? Like the Nasdaq, the S&P. None of these things have real argument, right? It's just like these are some of the most successful Ponzi schemes in human history, right? In financial market history. So you just bet on the Ponzi's continuing to persist, right? That's all that is, right? I don't have Over the past, so ever since 2022, I've been rapidly increasing my exposure to the S&P, and I don't believe in it at all, right? But it's just like it's the winning Ponzi, so we put your money there. You don't need to believe in any of this shit. The only value argument for crypto, right, is like the sovereign like ownership, right? Like my keys, my coins, kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, performance and number go up matters more to me. I just want to own stuff that's gonna go up. I don't really care as much about the crypto arguments these days. Maybe I take it for granted, and time will tell. All right, let me run through the rest of the chat, and then we'll start back up with the outlook again. Bro said no value while owning shiny rocks. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Yeah, I need you guys to press that like button for me. It's a crazy mismatch number going on here. Only 19 likes. I'd be trusting Magus's bullish gut microbiome. I'm down to my last $5. Sorry, brother. It's over for you. There's no alpha in the chat. You can keep going. Nah, sometimes there's alpha in the chat, but yeah, you're right. Most of the time, we're just autismo. The alpha is to not take life too seriously. 100%, guys. Nobody gives a fuck when I say this lesson because it's just kind of obvious, and you're not really gonna live this way just because I say it. But if you're always serious, you're never gonna make it in this, right? Unless you're actually, we joke about being autistic, right? But most of us aren't, right? Maybe we're a little bit, but like, unless you're truly a Rain Man level autist, like that's the only guy that's gonna focus or that's gonna succeed with being serious and stuff all the time, right? There's something that I see across all my friends that I respect as traders is that they know when to have a good time, right? And you really only should be as a trader like serious like 20-30% of the time, right? And then the other like 60-70% of the time you're like chilling, joking around, enjoying yourself. It's really important, guys. You cannot survive in these markets if you don't know how to have fun as well. It's just too painful of an experience otherwise. Have you read the article about the Bitcoin is in its IPO phase thesis? No. BTC will pump when all hope is lost. I don't know how much more hope could be lost, but I do agree. What's your ideal area if given for adding more Bitcoin to your port? So guys, lesson, and then I'll answer the question, right? When it comes to portfolio, like when it comes to trading, I want to be precise, right? I want to buy the bottom. I want to sell the top, roughly speaking, right? When it comes to portfolio management, I don't give a fuck. Like I'm more than happy to like buy a local top, 1 month that is not the top in the future, right? So I don't really care as much about when I'm buying Bitcoin, right? It's kind of a looser, when I'm buying Bitcoin, when I'm buying the S&P, it's very loose with my entries. I don't really care that much, okay? To answer your question in a more concrete way, what I was saying earlier is I do think they were going to dip below 100K, and I think like 95, 94 is like what my gut feeling is like the next kind of area to pay attention to. But yeah, I think that you guys should take notes on that, or just ponder this idea, right? When you want to separate the huge difference between portfolio management and trading. With trading, you want to be locked in and precise, and with portfolio management, there's just so much more room for, not giving a fuck, basically. Got an ad on a MAGA stream. It's over for you. AdSense is getting turned on. IPO phase equals bullish thing is pretty dumb when you think about it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not proposing that argument. I think that Bitcoin is in the later stages. I don't think it's in the early stages. Anchor VWAP from the yen carry trade. FUD lows is the alpha. What's up, living? Hope you've been well, brother. Missed you in the Paragon chats. How big of a buy is a shover? I don't know how to answer that question. Like, in terms of percentages, I guess is like what I would say. It would be like, actual like full percentages of my money, you know, as in actual full like 2%, 3%, something like that, where a lot of my buys, when I'm just like, I'm going to buy a little bit more S&P, I'm going to buy a little bit more Bitcoin, those are normally like sub 1% of my money. So when I say a shover, I mean like I'm actually like, yeah, I'm putting fucking money in, right? It's like actual meaningful money. Any thoughts on Coinbase creating some froth? I only very, very loosely had a conversation with them before that got announced. So I don't really know a whole lot about it beyond what the public does. Had very, very loose conversations with them about it. It could be cool. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a return to altcoins not being dog shit again. So if that leads us in that direction, then that's great. But I don't. Here's the issue, guys, is that with the whole altcoin scene, like making this has nothing to do with Coinbase. This is an overly completely just generalized statement. But the problem with altcoins is we made too many altcoins, right? So making more altcoins is not going to be the solution, right? There you go, Livid. Mag taking over. Well, I'm obviously not going to show you guys my Notion because it has way too much of my life going on in there. But I would honestly hard chill. I think that Notion is a really great app for a place to track everything, right? So my Notion has my trading stuff in it. It has all of my businesses in it. It has all of my personal life in it. If I need to do something serious for my business, it's in there. If I need to do something casual for my life, like update my fucking identification card or some shit, it's in there, right? I actually really like, I really like Notion, and I don't even use the paid version. I've been using the free version for like a year, and it just like syncs up to my phone and my PCs and shit, and I'm honestly a big fan. I'm an organization person where I have this strategy where I don't want to keep anything in my head that can just be stored in a notepad, right? Because that's just like wasted brain power. So I like mind dump all my shit into. For years it was like notepads and shit like that. Nowadays it's Notion, and I really like it. So there you go. I need Notion to fucking cut me a fat KOL deal now for shilling their product. Girlfriend shilled me on Notion a while ago, knew she was a keeper. That's how you know she's a nerd, honestly. I don't think I have the brain cells to figure out how to use Notion. Any of these kind of apps, they look like they're a lot at first, but guy, it's like there's no brain power required to figure it out. It's pretty, you know, idiot proof, definitely by design. All right, my friends, I'm gonna ignore chat for a moment and run through a little bit more analysis on the corn. So we'll just run through VWAPs, and then I'm gonna do medium time frame. Okay. As far as, you know what? Let's move over to this one. This is the updated VWAP, which is way better than the previous one. So, and yeah, I know for the Paragon guys, I said I was gonna share it with you already, and I need you to pester Charlie to upload the code because it's all finalized and shit. He just needs to upload it for you. Anyways, as far as Bitcoin on the yearly goes, you know, just starting off from the yearly open, right? We kind of talked about the idea that, you know, deviating value, you know, we spent time outside of value, we, you know, reclaimed back into value, and then spent time outside of value on the highs. We've now rejected off of the, you know, value area high and have now traded back down to the yearly value. So as far as I'm concerned, the VWAPs themselves are still bullish. The price structuring is not really that bullish anymore. There's clearly no momentum taking place on here. But the higher time frame structure on the VWAPs is still optimistic. So that's pretty much where you're at, right? I would not by any means call this a max bullish setup, but it is still definitely leaning much more heavily towards bullish as opposed to being neutral. But it is more neutral than it was, you know, Q2, the momentum was definitely pretty intense, right? So, basically, I think that the amount of consensus around 100K is why I think we're probably set to do our sweep, right? So I would love to see this scenario where we're kind of building out a range here, right? We sweep it really hard, big violent puke. I would love to see this come off of a news event. So let's say some sort of like tariff news comes out. Maybe there's some government shutdown FUD that comes out, right? Some sort of news event to create. Because guys, like, here's the thing: is you don't want it to just bleed down like this. I'm not buying that. I want it to fucking nuke hard, nuke the fuck out of people, and then I can buy into it, right, for that recovery. Otherwise, this slow and steady bullshit like we've been getting recently is not going to bounce strong, right? So we want to see a big puke. Again, I've been guesstimating it's going to be around 94, but that's totally just a fucking guess, right? The most honest way to say is that I'm looking at a range as wide as 97K all the way down to 92 is my buy zone. We'll quickly look at the other VWAPs, but unfortunately I have a much more negative image on these ones just depict, right? You look at the quarterly, and it's pretty fucking bearish, right? There's no real bull argument to be made here. It's going to be the same thing on the monthly. The monthly is pretty bearish as well. So the only kind of argument you can make that is bullish on these is like the multiple drives, right? So drive 1, drive 2, and we do our third drive, right, into the zone that I want to buy, and then maybe we get the momentum shift from there. I think maybe there's some optimism to be found on the weekly. Not really, to be honest, right? There was, like, the way that we had started the week was good, right? But the way that this is playing out, so I'm definitely pretty confident that essentially what you're seeing is this is the range that's building out, and we're gonna test the lows, right? I'm gonna not check chat right away and do medium time frame, and then I'll come back and check chat. So this is kind of where I'm at, right? The idea is that going into the beginning of the week, there was the potential for optimism, and the idea was, you have a lot of resistance. If we're like right here, you have a lot of resistances in front of you, right? You got 106, 110, and 113. And the idea is, in order to be super optimistic and expect that you're going to actually see fresh all-time highs and stuff, you wanted to see, this week we wanted to see an actual impulse candle come up and just trade right through all the resistance. We're clearly not going to get that. I think the just kind of macro overhang with the government shutdown and stuff is probably going to continue to pressure us, pressure equities. So it looks like we're doing doodle number 2, which was the trade down and make either a higher low, which I don't think is going to happen, to be honest, but maybe it does. Maybe it makes a higher low around 101, 102, and then you bounce from there. I think most likely, like I've said multiple times, right, you take out the lows, make a fresh low, and then depending on what that selling looks like is going to be really important for me. If it's aggressive and if it gives me my classic telltale signs that I want to buy into it in the flows, then I'm gonna send it, right. But the primary thing that I would warn you guys or stress is that you want the selling to be very aggressive and panicked. Move over to this just really quickly. It's a naked chart, right? None of these are as naked as I was hoping. They got all this bullshit drawn on them. Just basically the argument. You know what? We'll just come over here. It's so clear on like the monthly, right? There has been some concerns of momentum, but specifically post 1010, which I really think if the 1010 event didn't happen, that Bitcoin would be at all-time highs right now, and you maybe even would be having a pseudo alt season, right? But with this event that's taken place, right, market structure is very, very bearish, right? We're making lower lows and we're making lower highs, right? So this is the main thing that you're looking for, right? Is you want us to trade lower to give it another send for a long, or you want a structural shift, which would come in the form of either a strong impulse up or a higher low. That's pretty much it, right? There aren't any other valid arguments to make, so we'll go ahead and pause and check chat. How we know when to take money out of the S&P? I don't really have like any intention of doing so. Um, so I've been teaching this for a while now. It took me many years to fully understand this concept. And I'm hesitant about how much I want to teach, but there is really no like once you invest money into what you recognize as a good asset. Uh, so the lesson that I've been doing, and I'm gonna do a more simple version for the public instead of the more detailed version we do in the Paragon, but you should divide your assets into what I'm calling as chat assets and then bad assets, right? Bad assets are what you guys are mostly used to dealing with, right? This is going to be your altcoins. This is going to be some random ETFs that some fun bro launched, right? This is going to be, whatever, right? Like 99.9% of assets are bad. What I mean by this is that, like, the only purpose of a bad asset is going to be, any one of these coins in here. We could pick Ondo and say, you know what, Ondo, the only purpose of Ondo is to be traded. It's for me to buy it and then sell it to somebody else for a higher price and make money. This is the only purpose of this thing. That's what bad assets are for, right? They're trades, pure and simple. And then there is this small subsect of assets that is less than 1%, and these are the chat assets. These are the things that will outlive you, that these are multi-generational assets, right? So this is going to be the U.S. stock market. This is going to be real estate. This is going to be gold, and that is pretty much it, right? I do personally weave Bitcoin into that conversation these days, but outside of those kind of main things, strong stock indexes, gold, real estate, maybe natural resources, but that would probably be considered. Just real estate probably is where that gets factored into, right? And like commodities that have true value. And outside of that, none of these things should be looked at as a forever hold. So the lesson is, when I'm buying a chat asset, I don't want to ever sell it unless I'm using that money to buy another chat asset. I know that this is not really going to compute for so many of you guys, but why do I want to sell one of the best asset classes in the world, if not the best asset in the world, to hold $1, which is like dog shit, right? Like the dollar's almost as bad as your altcoin in some ways, right? So the lesson is that when I'm buying chat assets, my intention is never to sell them. There's other ways to use the liquidity and access the value without selling them, and that is what your goal is, right? This is a multi-purposed approach, right? It's about not selling things and just keeping the risk on and just letting compound interest continue to work for you over the years. But it's also about tax optimization, right? So I'm gonna end the app there. I've been talking about this a lot. I think that most of the time when I do these yaps, that people don't really care because they don't see the value. But if you guys stay in these games long enough, this is one of those things where it's gonna click for you in a year, and you're gonna go, that's why Magus was saying that lesson to me. It's very, very important that you guys understand that stuff, though. Understanding that will put you ahead of so many people from a long-term performance standpoint. How did I become the evil stepmom in this? No shot. No shot. I slap a couple of memes in the Paragon about how Charlie does all the work, and now I'm the evil stepmom and Charlie's Cinderella somehow. Yo, guys, Charlie's definitely the evil stepmom and I'm Cinderella, 100%. Just shoving me in 3% of sideline money of total net worth. Total net worth, how much is sidelined? Look, brother, we're playing such different games, like the way that you're asking your question, right? Like sideline this, sideline that. Like, guys, I have like a bunch of cash, but I'm not fucking sidelined, right? Like, you know what I mean, right? Like, don't think about like cash is sidelined, right? Like, I make money trading and I make money from businesses, so I make money from capital gains and from income, right? And then those are the primary driving forces that are my purchasing power, right, for buying these things. So it's not like I'm just sitting in cash sidelined, right? Like I make money and then I put money into chat assets. So to answer your question, to shoving 3% sideline, like it doesn't work that way. It's like I make money and then I just put the money I made into the market. What a pine cone. We'll see, Livin. We'll see. We will see. No need to sell. Yeah, people probably think on some level I'm joking, but I'm being dead serious, right? I mean, I don't really want to go into more detail on that conversation because everybody's gonna have different rules and stuff where you live, but a Paradigm discount coming up for Black Friday. Easiest shill of my life right there. All right, I'm gonna throw it in the chat one more time. In case some of the guys joined late and missed this, we are doing our once a year Paragon discount right now. So here's the link. You definitely want to capitalize on the discounts right now. If it was something you were considering at any point, you can shave a buck. She threw me the alley-oop for sure, dude. That's just me on my alt account, 100%. And see, I came in and I wrote Paradigm on purpose because then you guys can't tell it's me. If you play the game right and get rich, you know you now lead to how to stay rich. Chat assets can help you. I mean, look, it is a perspective thing. I understand some of you guys maybe are targeting more on the growth side of things, but I really think that even if you're seeking growth, you can still use that strategy that I'm discussing, right? Like whatever money you make from your aggressive trading and gambling and from, your job and from businesses, any like the money that you're bringing in from capital gains and from income streams, right? Those can just be put into these assets that you believe will outlive you. And there are very, very few assets that you can categorize as something that can outlive a man's life, right? Most won't. Yeah, Nelly, I appreciate that you. Yeah, but just not everybody's gonna appreciate these concepts though. But what I do, guys, is I teach the big picture lessons along the way as I learn them, right? I went through some stages where I over rotated my portfolio around in some of the earlier days, and some of my rotations really helped me to grow, right? And so I'm not trying to rule out and say don't rotate, because I think especially if you're targeting growth, rotations are essential. But there's the balance you're trying to strike where you don't want to over rotate, right? And you want to be careful about what you're rotating, right? So you want to rotate shit, right? When we're trading shit and piss, we rotate these things, right? And then there's just no reason to rotate out of the S&P or the NASDAQ, for example, or gold, right? You just sit in gold for the rest of your life. Pass that shit on to your kids when you're done. I don't even need to shill Paragon. The boys just do it for me. So when I was going on my trading career early in the there was just really nowhere to look for guidance and stuff. Nowadays there's a lot more trading education in our space that just didn't used to exist back in the day. So that's what it is, I thought that I got my shit together and recognized that I was actually kind of good at teaching the lessons that I was learning myself. So why not put a group together for it? So that's what we did. Pay for the privilege of calling me gay, 100%. I'm so bearish on piss. Me too, brother. Me too. I'm bullish on poop, though. Thanks, guys. Look, you guys can probably tell from listening to me over the years, right? I don't shill things I don't believe in, right? So I shill Paragon because I believe in it, and I team up with something like Coinbase because I can obviously believe in Coinbase. I don't need to worry about them, right? I shill Paragon and continue to work on it to this day because I'm actually confident that it is everything that we say it is. It is very hard to trade by yourself, guys. You know, I was very, 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 very fortunate that when I was at that point where I had decided, okay, I'm going to quit my job soon. When I was at that point in my career, I was very lucky to be mentored by a professional trader, right? My good friend Sting, he helped me out a lot, and he helped me not only with some of my own personal confidence, but just he showed me what professional trading looks like, what being organized and taking this shit seriously, running it like a business looks like. So that was a huge head start for myself. I got that just, you know, I made that connection via just networking and just kind of swindled him into becoming my friend, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I ended up having a point where I had so many people asking me for help, and I just can't, like, you can't help 30 individual people, right? So it's just easier to aggregate and help people all at the same time. That's got to be a pasta, right? Livid traders are gambling addicts. You're not investors. Any ladies in the chat? Oh, that's good. Yeah, B Frog, have a good one, bro. Thanks. Any ladies in the chat though? That's fucking golden right there. That needs to be our new meme, honestly. I need once per stream every week. Somebody's got to ask if there's any ladies in the chat just once, just because that's too fucking good. Yeah, everybody. So if you already have access to the indicators and then we update it, you'll get the updated version, 100%. 100%. We wouldn't even have the option to scam you out of that if we wanted to, right? Because we're just replacing it with the new version, so it'll just auto. You'll need to remove the indicator and re-upload it. It won't auto update for you, but yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, friends. I am 50 minutes into the stream here. Kind of interested in looking at a few alts. But, yeah, I don't really care about alts that much. So I'll probably start to wrap up the stream here in the not so distant future. Maybe like 20, 30 minutes, we'll end it. So don't hesitate to throw any questions, any chat, any topics, anything like that in the question section, and we'll cover. I'm going to just look through a few alts and just see what's going on. You know, so this is probably going to be the name of the game, is that the best looking alts are going to look like this, where they're going to be bullish on the yearly and bearish on everything else. Very few altcoins are going to be bullish on medium time frame VWAP. So ETH, you know, the trend, it doesn't look cooked to me necessarily on high time frame, but like locally, it's just piss, right? It's just going to be the same exact argument with Solana, right? Except Solana is bearish on the yearly, so honestly, Solana is weaker than ETH is overall. You know, it's going to be the same argument for a lot of these. Maybe this is where we can get into some hot coins. I think the BNB looks good on higher time frame. It's starting to show some momentum shifts on the weekly. Not enough to where I want to long it yet, but I definitely could see myself maybe flirting with this one at some point. Hyperliquid has had a lot of relative strength post 1010. But again, the same kind of argument that I just can't get a bullish developing fucking VWAP anywhere. Give me some fucking bullishness and I'll chase risk on it. But it just looks like piss. So it's an AFKer. And wait. Definitely will remain a primary on the list. Tron, god damn it. I talked about buying this thing at the yearly, and I just, yeah. I said this on Friday in the Paragon that like I should have already bought, and there you go. I'm telling you guys right now, I've been saying this for literally years watching Tron. I always go, you know, Tron trades like an absolute scam coin. I fucking hate this thing. I should buy it anyways, right? This just relentlessly goes up. This is a free money coin. So there you go, honestly. This is one of the only coins that probably looks good right now. It looks good on the yearly. It looks kind of pissy on the monthly, but it looks good on the weekly, right? It basically is just getting too opt up off the weekly. So, not a bad look on Tron. Not a bad look. This is a spot and chill kind of coin. Tau is one that has been brought to my attention several times. This was extremely strong post 1010, one of the strongest coins. Relative weakness definitely setting in right now. So, I mean, if I gotta be honest, right, the original drawing I had on this was it doing the euthanasia roller coaster. Right, and I think, like, this is basically that. So we'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this though and put this on the list below. Monero is really strong right now off the back of Zcash. No, I did not make any Zcash trades. Charlie's been killing that instead. I probably should have just copy traded him and could have made a bunch of money easily, but is what it is. I think Monero looks good though. It's just an easy Zcash chase play. Ripple has been one I've been keeping a close eye on. Obviously, Ripple doesn't look outright bullish by any means. It's actually just bearish across the board. But if we were to go risk on, this would be one that I would want to buy probably. Let me just run through a couple more coins really quickly and just see. You guys can throw your tickers in the chat if you want, but I'm not gonna call it how it is, right? If your coin looks like shit, I'm gonna bully it. Pump doesn't look too bad, honestly. Kind of maybe interested in Pump a little bit, and that's probably it, right? I don't see a world where hardly any of the other coins are gonna be worth. I actually deleted about 100 coins off my watch list the other day, but what the fuck? Uni was going crazy. Charlie told me to long Uni yesterday, and I didn't. I really need to start copy trading my friends more. I haven't copy traded my friends in a long time. I really need to start taking the free money. All right, let me check chat and see where we're at. Fart looking good here? No shot, bro. No shot. What are you saying? Fart's looking like shit here. The only saving grace is that some of these coins look like this, where they look like they've made their bottom and they're kind of doing their retest trade higher, right? But like structure on Fart, I can't lie to the boys, right? Structure on Fart is terrible. It's in a downtrend, right? Very, very strong downtrend. Mrs. Stream Buller Bear Magus. I'm still bullish on macro, but I'm a little bit more bearish on the shorter term. Syrup and Morpho. All right. Yeah, it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't have a strong trend or anything either. Maybe there's more price history I can find. Yeah, nothing too crazy. All right, yeah, I can't hate on it. I can't like sit here and bull pulse it either though. This one's gonna be a shitter for sure. It looks like exactly the same as Syrup. So I would say it looks better than your average altcoin for sure, but I mean, they don't have any trends persistent, that's for sure. No, Beefrog, that's just a popular copy pasta that got shared a long time ago. It was somebody left that as a comment on our WAP about how we were great. The group is great, but I stink like hot dog water or something like that. Virtual. I don't think I already can tell before I even look at the chart. I'm probably about to clown the fuck out of this thing. All right, it doesn't look as bad as I expected it to. It's had some strength more recently. So I don't think it looks that terrible when I look at it on the weekly. Higher time frame, you know. You know what? Honestly, post 1010, this thing is incredibly strong. I got to give it some credit. After the 1010 nuke, I mean, this thing's kind of a Chad. So there you go. What the fuck coin even is this? Virtuals? I don't see a reason why Virtuals, an AI agent coin, is going to go up a lot. But there you go. High time frame is really bearish. But short term, you know, shorter medium term, that kind of looks okay. Traded LSK this morning. Feels like a scam pump up 50% today. That's a scam pump for you. SPX 69. I mean the local trend on this thing is just definitely cooked, right? So I do really like this meme from a meme standpoint, the community standpoint. But yeah, I mean I've never bought this thing, even though I've been interested several times. I've strongly considered it, but I don't see an argument for why I want to buy something that looks like this, you know. I'd rather buy it higher when it's, you know, just, you know, from a higher price, you know, if it looks stronger. Litecoin, I see in the chat. I mean, I don't really like the look on Litecoin that much. You know, the only argument that's like bullish on Litecoin is like this like ridiculous range it's built up over the years. Tried to nuked after 2021, it just never went up again. So this massive accumulation range, and I'm pretty sure they're like paying influencers to promote them and shit right now. So those are bullish for it, right? Kind of, but like it clearly has no excess bid coming in, so it's just not a coin that I'm interested in. 100%. Give me my 25% tax. My personal review on WAP. I know you spent 72 minutes crafting that, thinking you were clever. Give him 1% every time I've called him gay. So you're going to give me 100% then. Nice. Dash? Alright, bro. Alright, this is probably the last altcoin I'm going to look at because I just don't... Like, why are we looking at 2017 coins? Holy motherfuck. What are you scammers doing over here? Alright. What a successful scam they launched over here. Just a casual 500% run up. This is really, really easy for me to just be lazy and call this the euthanasia roller coaster, right? Like, why is this gonna... why is this going to start a trend, right? Why is this going to be a trend? Like, that's the question you're trying to ask. And why is it not just going to be another one of these? I don't just shit on your guys' coins because I want to, right? I'm being objective about it. Like, if you actually put a good coin in front of me, I'm going to tell you it's a good coin, right? Like, there are good coins out there. Like, unironically, we're going to look at silver, right? There are coins that are good, or assets that are good, right? It's just... been teaching this for years, right? You got to learn how to actually sort for, and filter for strength. Go press that like button for me, nerds. Running through the rest of, check Aster. Yeah, we can look at Aster. I feel like Aster is probably going to be a dog shitter. Is there an E in here? I think this is going to be bad. Yeah, I mean... Okay, here's what you're hoping. When you see a coin like this, you're hoping that it's doing the big booty bottom. So I've taught this many times over. This is like, go study Aptos listing if you want to study this. But, essentially you're hoping that it continues to do this and then starts to round out slowly and starts to trend to go up. From there, it could do one of these kind of moves where it trades up a lot, right? Could easily do hundreds of percent. 150, 200% probably, right? And then from there, it'll probably go down again, right? So this is probably the most likely scenario, especially because it's a CZ coin. A lot of this would be contingent upon what the larger assets are going to do, but this honestly could be a decent play. You just got to be super patient. Group is great, but the leader named Magus called me gay because I have a girlfriend. XPL. I'm getting bored of these, so we're definitely gonna be done with tickers soon. There you go. I drew this a long time ago. There you go. I don't even remember drawing that. Getting ads midstream. Scammed again. Scammed again. Scared to say, but dot. Yeah, look, I haven't traded DOT in a really long time. I mean, I think DOT has been down only ever since they, like, integrated their major tech change, whatever that was. This thing doesn't even have a place on my watch list. So there you go, right? Like, I don't believe in like, maybe there's trades to be had on coins like this, but there's no allocation to be had. And realistically, the only way to trade a coin like this is to fucking short it when it goes up, right? Like, I'm not gonna probably ever make money longing things that look like this. Maybe you make the argument that I'm looking for something to short because I'm bearish, and then I short a shitter like this. That's the only real argument I could make. But yeah, I'm not super optimistic on this thing. It's in a macro downtrend. It looks like piss post the 10-10 nuke. So I mean, look, guys, like, your average alt Your average alt was destined to go down anyways, but after 1010, that likelihood has been locked in and more secured than ever, right? There's just not going to be liquidity that exists on these coins anymore. It's just not going to be the case, right? The risk to reward is just not there, right? If you're a market maker, the only reason why the risk to market make some of these coins is if they're just going to give you a fuck ton of supply, right? Just give you a ton of money. CRV. All right, this is officially the last ticker we're looking at. See if I can actually type. All right, I haven't looked at curve in a minute. I mean, look, it's the classic Toy Story. I don't want to play with you anymore meme, right? Like, I've just done this over and over again where, like, I traded curve a lot last cycle, right? Last cycle, DeFi was my most successful swing trade by far. So I don't actually remember how many curve trades I took, but I traded so much of the Boomer DeFi back then. And I just don't trade any of it anymore, right? Every now and then I'll look at Aave, but for the most part, Boomer DeFi, it's just dog shit, right? They're all in perpetual downtrends. And the money to be made already came and went on these things a long time ago, right? The only use case for these things now is to actually use the protocol. It's not to make money off the token anymore. You think MM is more competitive than day trading? It's apples to oranges, you know. It's apples to oranges. They shouldn't be directly compared. They're both extremely difficult to pull off, right? Market making is difficult. I struggled the most with the risk management side of market making, and that's where I ultimately failed. Was I could never figure out how to manage the risk properly. So that's where what I would say, right, is like they're both incredibly hard. Market making is going to require more actual intelligence, though, where somebody can just discretionarily trade, right, and be a fucking moron and run it up. And you are not going to have success if you're not smart as a market maker. So there you go, right? They're both difficult, but your chances of success as an average person are definitely higher with discretionary trading. Even though they're low, it's higher because market making is very, very difficult to pull off. So that's the best answer I could probably give you. I mean, look at this ultimate case study that we have with James Nguyen, right? Where, you know, we watched him run up in an incredible fashion, right, to truly generational wealth, right? But then you heard him speak one time and you went, whoa, like, is he even a human being? You know, it was hard to listen to when we heard his voice for that first time, right? So that should just give all of you guys hope that, you know, like, success as a trader, like, it helps if you're smart, right? I don't think it's going to necessarily, like, hurt you as a default, you know, skill set to have some brain power or whatnot, but it's not required at all. And actually, in some instances, being stupid is helpful, right? I look back to a lot of the, like, really successful big trades that I've had in my career, and a lot of it was pretty dumb, you know? My most important trade in my career was probably the winter DeFi play. And if that trade went poorly for me and I lost, it means I would have, you know, every single one of those trades would have been a minus 20-30% probably if I was wrong on it. If I was wrong on those DeFi bets, I probably would have had to retire as a trader. I don't know if I would have had the capital to keep going otherwise. So there you go, right? Like, genuinely being stupid is actually an edge sometimes as a discretionary trader, because you don't know how much you don't know, right? The more you learn, the more you realize how much of a dumbass you are, and it puts you into a box of fear. So stupidity is like a fucking, you know, armor plating to protect yourself from being scared, right? James Nguyen would have a hard time being a market maker. He'd be the goated market maker. He'd just quote everywhere until he got liquidated. I would love to hear more about market making. I just don't like speaking on things that I am not successful with, right? Like with the discretionary trading, portfolio management, intraday, those kind of things. Like I know I am qualified to speak on those. I have a track record and stuff. But my market making track record has been really shit. I've had like a little bit of a moment of success here and there, which was short lived. I've never been able to really figure that side out. So that's why I always answer with non answers. That's crazy, right? If I didn't make my bag on Winter DeFi, Doc might not be gay. Isn't that crazy how that's the butterfly effect playing out for you in real time? There's been like 75 ripples that just ends with Doc getting called gay. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, my friends. I'm gonna wrap up the stream there. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I do appreciate the vibes. Had a couple of good laughs. I'll hang out for just another minute or two in case any last second chats come through. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Just go ahead and chill this one more time, right? We don't ever do this, so if you want to capitalize on the discounts, this is the time to do it. You won't hear me shilling this anymore, but that's that. Or actually, you will hear me shilling it over the next like week or two until it's done, and then I won't shill it ever again. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or anything, especially if you're already in Paragon. But good luck out there, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.